If you're like most people, it's like you've tried to lose weight before. Maybe you've tried fad diets, maybe you've tried quick fixes, maybe you have lost weight before. But research shows up to 92% of people who try to lose weight quickly, they regain that weight within the same year. So in today's video, I'm going to break down the 3 most common mistakes people make when trying to drop body fat and the 5-step solution you can implement to make sure that you not only lose the weight, but essentially keep the weight off long term. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Adrian McDonald and we specialize in helping busy working professionals over the age of 30 drop body fat and keep the weight off long term. So a big reason many people fail to keep the weight off is because the way they actually lost the weight in the first place, it's unsustainable. So I was recently on the phone with a guy and he mentioned he tried everything before in the past. He tried 4-day fasting, he tried intermittent fasting, he tried a high carb, a low carb approach, but nothing seemed to work. And the problem with these unsustainable approaches, they can actually have a negative impact upon your metabolism, meaning that every new time that you try to lose the weight again in an unsustainable manner, you can make the job that bit harder for you. The reason being is because if you lose weight quickly, it's likely a lot of the weight you're losing is from muscle mass and not body fat. And because muscle burns up to 3 times more calories at rest than fat, this means you can actually slow down your metabolism. And furthermore, not to mention, it's like if you lose weight very, very quickly, what are you really teaching yourself? You're not building any good sustainable habits that you can actually sustain and implement long term. And that's why fad diets, quick fix, for the most part, they're not sustainable, and that's why a lot of people fail to get lean. Now, another reason people fail to get lean is because they do not account for something called metabolic adaptation. Metabolic adaptation is essentially when your body will adjust to being in a low-calorie diet or a calorie deficit for too long. So, first of all, just when it comes to fat loss, as everyone knows, fat loss is governed by calories in, calories out. Now, calories in is going to come from your food and your drink, whereas calories out, that has a bit more leeway. So, for example, up to 60% of the calories you burn are going to come from your BMR, which is your basic metabolic rate. Another 10% come from digestion food, and then the other final 30% is roughly going to come from activity, whether it's non-exercise activity, thermogenesis, things like just walking, taking the stairs, carrying in the grocery and so on, and then actually activity, specific activity, something like going to the gym. What people don't realize though is that when you consume fewer calories, your body will also burn fewer calories. So that's why it's likely that as you lose weight, your maintenance calories would adjust. So let's just say, for example, that you start a dieting phase and your maintenance calories are 2,500. But if you lose 10 kilos of body fat, like one of our clients, Johnny, did, he actually lost more than that, your maintenance calories are likely going to decrease as well. So let's just say you lose 10 kilos of body fat, your maintenance calories could actually end up with say 2,300 or even 2,200, which means that if you do not cater for that metabolic adaptation and the adjustment in your maintenance calories, it's unlikely you're going to stay in a calorie deficit if you just keep them there. And the third, and probably the most common mistake people make when it comes to dropping body fat, is doing too much cardio. People just correlate sweating more with actually burning more fat. You've probably heard the saying, sweat is like your fat crying, okay? That's actually not technically true. You can have an amazing workout and you may not even break a sweat. I was actually having a session with one of our clients and he was so used to like just tracing that calorie burn, these HIIT workouts, these boot camps, and we finished a really solid session in the gym, about 1 hour long. And none of us really cracked up a major sweat, and he just thought that it wasn't a beneficial workout. But just because you sweat a lot does not mean your workout was effective. And this was again one of our other clients, David. He had a similar enough or a hard enough time coming to terms with this, as he was doing way too much cardio. But the problem with doing too much cardio or trying to sweat a lot is that cardio is great for burning calories, but cardio does not build muscle. And if you lose body fat without actually lifting weights and building muscle, you're just going to turn out to be skinny fat. Essentially, 3 main mistakes that people avoid are: number 1, following fad diets; number 2, not accounting for metabolic adaptation; and then number 3, doing too much cardio. So now let's actually speak about the 5-step formula you can implement so you can drop body fat while maintaining muscle mass and then keep the weight off for good. So number 1 is aim for a sustainable calorie deficit. What is a sustainable calorie deficit? So a good target to aim for is to lose 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. The reason this is important is because I know it's tempting, I know you want to lose weight quicker, but the problem is, again, as I said, more of that weight that you lose if you go quickly can come from muscle mass and not body fat. So with our metabolic priming diet, which we implement with our clients, the 3 big pillars that we coach our clients on are: number 1, eating predominantly single ingredient whole foods. Okay, an apple is just an apple, an apple juice is not just an apple. It contains more than one ingredient. Number 2 is having a plant and a protein in every single meal. So a lean source of protein, usually like meat, fish and eggs, and then a plant standing from a fruit or a vegetable. And then number 3 is staying or eating within a caloric limit. Now, the reason these 3 things are important is because when you want to drop body fat, the last thing you want to be doing is going to bed hungry. So having more protein, having more fiber and drinking more water are 3 key ways to essentially keep hunger at bay. And when you're in a sustainable calorie deficit where you're losing maybe 0.5 to 1 pound a week or 0.5 to 1 kilo a week, depending on your body weight, sure, it might be a bit slower, but I promise you, from a long-term sustainability standpoint, and also from a metabolism standpoint, it's going to be much, much more beneficial for you. Okay, so once we're losing about 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week, what happens at the end of the dieting phase? And this is where so many people go wrong. They see dieting as a destination, almost like that end game mentality that you want to look good for the holiday, you want to look good for your wedding, you want to look good for whatever the event is, but you fail to realize life will always go on. So this is why you need to have a post-dieting plan in place. Now, I can record a full video on this, but something we implement with our clients is something we call metabolic reversal phase. It's the final phase of your program where we essentially reverse your metabolism so you can maintain the results long term. An example of a client that I'll use is one of our clients, Tamim. So Tamim, I'll pop him on the screen there. He finished his dieting phase at roughly 1,500 calories for the final 3 to 4 weeks of his cut. We're now 3 months post-cut and he's more or less maintained his body composition, gained a small bit of body fat, but the best thing is he's now consuming 22 up to 2,300 calories a day. Had we just jumped from 15 to 22 or 2,300 straight away, he would have regained the weight quite quickly. This is why, yes, you want to get back to your maintenance calories as quickly as possible, but if you go back too quickly, this can often lead to rapid regain. Now, the third key in maintaining results long term is increase your activity and make strength training your main course and cardio your appetizer. So first of all, increasing your activity. So the recommended daily amount of activity from the HSE, the Health Service Executive in Ireland, is 150 minutes per week. So the research does indicate at least 150 minutes per week, which is just 2.5 hours, is the bare minimum you want to be aiming for. And of successful people who've lost the weight and kept it off long term, one key habit is always going to be moving more and exercising more. So when it comes to activity again, what form of activity do I recommend? If your goal is to get fitter, to get leaner, to get stronger, to improve your body composition and also be able to move and have a decent level of fitness, what I'd recommend is do at least a 2 to 1, if not a 3 to 1 ratio of strength to cardio. Because strength training will build your muscle, it'll build your metabolism, and cardio is great for your health, it's great for your longevity, and it's also great for your fitness. There's a lot of kind of people like saying you need to do one or the other, that if you do weights, you can't do cardio, if you do cardio, you can't do weights. In my opinion, you should not rely on any one form of activity to get your fitness from. So strength training is fantastic, but too much strength training in the absence of cardio, you're going to be out of breath going up a flight of stairs. Nobody wants that. But on the flip side, too much cardio without strength, you're just going to turn out to be skinny fat, or you're not going to have any muscle mass. That's why I like the 1 to 2, if not 1 to 3 ratio of cardio to strength, whereby let's just say you train 4 hours a week, 3 hours strength, 1 hour cardio, something along those lines will generally work well. On top of this as well, just when it comes to activity, just walking more. Like walking 8,000 steps per day. The difference between that and walking 2,000 steps per day is a reduction in all-cause mortality by 62%. And just one of the silent secrets of fat loss is just simply walking more. Walking an extra 1,000 steps a day can burn anywhere from 30 to 50 calories. And the best thing about walking is it's not taxing, it's not fatiguing, and it's very, very good for the body and the mind. Step number 3 is increase your activity, preferably get some form of strength training, some form of cardio, and then feel free to do some yoga or anything else you wish as well. Now, step number 4 is a key step that a lot of people miss when it comes to keeping the weight off long term, and that is monitoring and tracking your progress. Something we recommend for our clients at Mac Lifestyle Fitness is, number 1, you weigh yourself every day, at least 3 times a week, because what gets measured gets managed. Secondly, people think that it's too obsessive, like weighing yourself every day, but I'd actually argue the opposite, because I used to weigh myself once a week, but if the weighing scale went down, you know, it's the best thing ever, the best feeling ever. But if the weighing scale went up, it was like, what the hell? You know, I was following my diet consistently. Why did this happen? But your weight can fluctuate so much overnight depending on how many carbohydrates you ate, your stress levels, your salt intake, your water intake, when you went to the bathroom last, and so on. So the more accurately and the more consistently you measure your weight, the better understanding you would have of how it will fluctuate on a daily basis. Track your weight, number 1. Number 2 is just tracking your food. So a lot of people have a lot of backlash about tracking your food, and people say it's obsessive. Look, the goal isn't necessarily to track your food all the time in MyFitnessPal for the rest of your life, but just see it as building your education and building your knowledge. And once you build that foundation, once you build the knowledge, you can get to a point where you look the way you want to look, you feel the way you want to feel, without necessarily having to track your calories. But you have to earn the right to get there, and that's why I believe everyone should track their calories for at least 30 days. Other important things to track are, number 1, take progress pictures, because guess what? The scale might not be moving, but your body composition can be improving. Or the scale just shows your body weight, your body composition, the ratio of muscle to fat that you have. So if you take pictures, if you look at your progress pictures, you might be saying, God, like the weight hasn't gone down in the scale, but my clothes are fitting better. I'm building more muscle, I'm looking leaner, I'm feeling fitter. And these are all signs that you are actually dropping body fat while maintaining muscle mass. And the final thing to track is just your lifts. track your lifts in the gym, because essentially one of the keystones of actually getting stronger and building muscle is progressive overload. So essentially gradually progressing the load or the weight or increasing the intensity over time. But if you don't know what numbers you lifted last week or the week before, if you're changing things up all the time, it's going to be very, very hard to measure the data. Another topic is just not to actually change up your program all the time, because you need to make sure you follow a progressive strength training program. I should have mentioned that on point number 3, but make sure you track your data, because again, where focus goes, energy will flow. And then the final step to maintain the results long term is just focus on building better habits. And there's a lot of good habits you can build. So we already spoke with a few there. Having more single ingredient whole foods, strength training, getting in exercise, walking more. All these things will be beneficial, but 3 habits that I'm going to speak about, which I think will serve a lot of people, are: number 1, setting a reverse alarm. Everyone has an alarm for when to go to bed or when to get up in the morning. But mostly the biggest problem, myself included, is not actually getting up at 5 or 6 a.m. It's having the discipline to go to bed on time the night before. So let's just say that your bedtime is 10:30. Set an alarm on your phone to go off at 9:30 as a reminder to wind down, to, get ready for bed, to stop working, whatever it is you're doing, and just get ready for a good night's rest. So number 1 is set a reverse alarm so you can be up in time the following day. Number 2 is having an optimal food environment. Everyone argues about what the best diet is to lose body fat, to build muscle. The number 1 most important principle, in my opinion, when it comes to nutrition is, if a food is in your house, sooner or later it's going to be eaten. So yes, you could just rely on willpower to say no to the tin of biscuits or the chocolates when you get home after a hard day's work. Or you could create a system that you don't buy chocolates, you don't buy biscuits, and if you really want them, you have to walk or drive to the shop to get them. Because otherwise it's just look, relying on willpower, your willpower is like a battery, and your battery becomes drained the longer the day goes on, the higher your stress levels are. So if you create a good positive food environment whereby there's fruit, there's veggies, there's lean proteins in your immediate environment, it's just going to make eating healthier much, much easier. And finally, when it comes to building habits, there's a great book on this called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And something he speaks about is called habit stacking, where you essentially pair something that you know you need to do with something that you usually do or something that you like to do. So for example, imagine that you like watching Netflix for 1 hour an evening, but you also know that you need to do your cardio. Well, what you could do is you could load your Netflix show on your phone and watch that while you're doing your low intensity steady state cardio. Or for example, imagine that you know that you like getting coffee. Well, rather than making the coffee in the house, you could say that, you know what, I'm gonna walk to Starbucks, and because I'm walking to Starbucks, I'm getting an extra 3,000 steps a day. So you're pairing something that you like to do or you already do with something that you know you need to do, and that's a really good way of building solid and sustainable habits. Okay, so we spoke about quite a bit here, but just to recap, 3 biggest reasons people fail to keep the weight off long term is: number 1, they offer quick fixes. Number 2 is that they fail to account for metabolic adaptation. Number 3 is that they do too much cardio and not enough strength. So if you want to lose the weight and keep the weight off long term, follow this 5-step formula instead. Number 1 is aim for a sustainable calorie deficit where you're losing 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. Number 2 is that you've got a post-item plan in place so you do not regain the weight and you can keep the weight off long term. Number 3 is you increase your activity at least 150 minutes per week, preferably do a 2-to-1 if not a 3-to-1 ratio of strength to cardio and walk 8,000 steps a day. Number 4 is that you track your progress, whether it's your scale weight, your pictures, your weights in the gym, and also your food. And then number 5 is that you build sustainable habits long term so you can actually stick to this for a decade and not just a day. And that final point is the key, sticking to it for a decade and not just a day. So many people are very, very good at starting, but not many people are good at seeing it out. I'll tell you now, fat loss, weight loss, building muscle, whatever it might be your goal is, it's not linear. There's going to be setbacks along the way. There's going to be days where you quote unquote have a good intention of eating well, but you cheat on your diet. There's going to be days when you want to go to the gym, but something happens at work, something happens in the business, something happens in your family life that will stop you from doing so. But that's okay, because once you do not quit, sooner or later you will get there. That is the most important thing with fitness. So see fitness as an infinite game. There's no winner or loser. You do not win in the game of fitness. And the goal of this game is to keep on playing. And if you come in with the mindset that you don't want to be fit for just 12 weeks or you don't want to be fit for a holiday, set the goal you want to be fit for life and make it a part of your identity. And that's how you essentially make a lifestyle change. I hope you found this video or this episode of the podcast helpful. If you did, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on our next upload. And if you want more help customizing your plan towards your lifestyle, this is essentially what we do at Mac Lifestyle Fitness. We have coached over 800 clients worldwide living across 5 different continents. So whether you want to drop body fat, get a bit leaner, increase your confidence, build a bit of muscle, or just make a sustainable lifestyle change, we have got something for you. So what I will do is I'll post a link to our one-to-one online application in the bio below or comments below. And if you are interested, schedule a call with me to see if we might be able to help you.